So I think we'll go to board member comments. Board member comments if you have any. So let's take advantage of time and appreciate all of you. Okay, Member Cannon.
Thank you. I have two comments. One was that a few weeks ago I had a great opportunity to go visit the Education Commission of the States and was accompanied by Member Moss and Member Earl and Member Hart, who were charming and delightful colleagues to spend time with. I just thought I'd comment on one thing that I heard there. We heard that there were over 200 pieces of legislation across the nation that were trying to address teacher retention and teacher shortage issues. And I had a chance to visit with the state board chair from Texas, who said they have dealt with this. And if you don't know about Texas, on their school trust lands, they have oil wells that support education, and a lot of their public education is supported by their trust lands because they get all of this income from oil and gas and so forth there. So they're pretty well funded. And he was telling me that they have addressed the teaching issue by making it possible for a teacher in the classroom to earn up to a six-figure salary while teaching. And they're doing that by giving them bonuses for teachers who will teach in high poverty areas, for teaching traditionally marginalized schools, for going into rural areas, and they're paying, the state is paying money for teachers who will do this and trying to put their very best teachers in their neediest schools. And I thought, that made me happy to think that teachers in Texas could, get that kind of a salary. I was thrilled to hear that. The other thing I want to mention is I was asked if I would read the applications for Utah Teacher of the Year. There were 28 of them. It took me at least a half an hour to read one of the applications. So I spent days and lots of hours doing this, and I can tell you, it was time of inspiration and gratitude and admiration for the teachers we have in the state of Utah who teach our kids. If I could just highlight a couple of them for you. We have a science teacher who teaches in a Title I school, and she's created a class called Mission to Mars. She's worked with NASA. She's brought all of this stuff in, and she writes grants to get money so her kids, many of whom have never been out of their little part of Utah, can go with her places and study what it would be like on a mission to Mars. She uses that grant money for her kids to have these little excursions. Just amazing. Another teacher has farm projects, and the teachers and the kids raise farm animals, and he interacts with the community to give these kids learning about the law of the harvest and the farm. Just outstanding. They have a teacher who teaches full-time and uses his medical degree part-time. And he keeps doing his medical degree and service so that he can keep up his medical information at the very highest possible level. We have another one who does Beverly Taylor Sorensen's arts and helps all the teachers in the state bring this into all subjects and across the curriculum. I can tell you we just have some of the most outstanding teachers, and I hope that you'll RSVP to go to the Teacher of the Year banquet and learn more about these incredible teachers that teach in the state of Utah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Member Earl.
Okay. Yeah, Janet is a great companion. So just saying that, we had some great discussions and meals together. When we were back in DC, one of the things that stood out was there was a gentleman by the name of Bernard A. Harris And he talks about reimagining STEM education in the 21st century. And this is the National Math and Science Initiative. But his presentation was very, very well done, wanting to assist all children in being highly successful. One of the images I took, he has on his slides, is I'm an infinite being with infinite possibilities. He did such a great job of framing his presentation and just the inspiration of all being capable. And you could tell he wasn't holding back when it comes to, I guess in my view, he wasn't politicizing anything. It was, I want everyone to be successful. And he did an excellent job of conveying that message and using his own life as a exemplar for that. So that was one thing. Also, just down at rural schools, there was a replication. They talked about a replication of the marshmallow study. And so that replication, one of the interesting things that stood out, and if you're familiar with the marshmallow study, tell kids, don't take the marshmallows until the time limit's up, right? And anyways, so there's
another one.
Yeah, this one was replicated, but they had two different sections. I'll try to be quick here. They had different adults that engaged with kids prior to doing the marshmallow study, and in one they gave the adults would say things like, "Well, we're gonna, I'll bring something in tomorrow," and then they wouldn't bring it. So there was this lack of trust built in the relationship. And the other one, they were clear and exact, and it was interesting to see the time frames when they replicated it. And these were all children that had come from some type of disadvantage. But it was interesting to see that when when adults were stable and there was a conciseness that they were able to build. Not just a trusted relationship, but there was excellence that excelled in there. Anyways, I just thought it was interesting. So I'm grateful for the summer trips, no vacations, but trips I took. So my vacation's this week, and it's not happening because I'm here. So everybody's gone on vacation. But anyways, and I'm missing my grandbaby. But other than that, I very much have enjoyed being able to associate with all of you. So
Thank you. Member Hutchings.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate Chair Huntsman's focus on the summer conferences, because I had a really interesting experience this summer because I did attend many conferences, a few here in Utah, a couple that were more national conferences. And I had an interesting aha moment as I was attending these conferences and trying to get information to take back and use at my own school, that at least this summer, it was so clear how the conferences that were supported and created here in Utah by USBE and by our Utah organizations that I attended, frankly, far outshined the national conferences that I attended, because they were so relevant and on point and had so much useful information I could take home to school to use. And it was just so clear that the heart and soul of education here in Utah is to really provide the very best, because we love our kids, we love our schools, and we value the time that people are taking for these conferences. And I felt that my time was very well spent here in Utah attending those conferences especially. So props to those organizations and for that notice that I had this summer. I also want to, since we did talk about earlier about school leaders and being a school leader myself, the point was made, the support of family and particularly spouses, that they contribute to the lives of school leaders to help them be able to be dedicated and focused on their jobs, because so many times we get so entrenched and so focused that we need a spouse who's willing to support that And my husband's here in the back, so I just wanted to give props to Eric Hutchings, who popped in to say hi, apparently. And just let all of you know and let him know how much I appreciate him and his support of me in the career that I love. And I just want to say thank you, and I love you.
Member Booth.
So I decided, as I was preparing for this meeting and reading the board book, that I was going to dive into those contracts that we just spent a long time talking about. And I read all of them. And some of them, I have to admit, I skimmed, but then I would stop and read. But I was just so impressed with our staff and the careful attention to the complex details of each of those contracts. And, you know, it's not just like we can just give them a standard contract and this is our contract, because these companies that we're working with all have their likes and dislikes and their things that they need to make sure is included so that they're covered. And as I read the careful attention to detail, and then today as Jennifer Thronson, you know, just delivered a masterful explanation of what was happening. And this is just one little area of a bazillion things that Jennifer and each of our staff members are dealing with all the time. I'm just grateful because as a board member, this job would be absolutely impossible without the incredible staff and the superintendency and Sybil. This is a magnificent organization to be working for. I'm also impressed this summer with my fellow board members. As I look at the amount of detail, for example, that Natalie goes to, and I'm watching her just take all these copious notes all the way down this notebook, which is not empty. And as I had chance at the Rural Schools Conference and doing the interviews for the POPs organizations and a number of other activities through the summer where, or a meeting on social studies, where several had a chance to get our heads together and phone calls. Wow, we are surrounded and motivated by a group of committed citizens who want to make sure that our education for these kids that we love so much is the best we can possibly provide. And so I just wanted to, since I happen to have the privilege of working with the arts all the time, I wanted to just share this little picture. This was painted on a big wall. It's a huge mural by Robert Barrett, who has done lots of presidents of the United States and general authorities of the local church that happens to be around this area. But he created this beautiful painting with the children of the state of Utah involved in the arts. You see them playing the recorder and drums and dancing and oil painting and dance, you know, all kinds of fun things. This was created as a tribute to Beverly Taylor Sorensen and is on the wall of the Brigham Young University David O. McKay building as you come down the west entrance and the big staircase there. And this was, thank you very much, Natalie. This was created to say thank you for a very specific program that is unique in all the world. And you've heard tons about it. You've heard of its success. It is doing so much good for our children. And I'm going to send you, or invite Lisa Clough to send you a link of a very well done film that you've not seen, that just gives you a chance to hear from children and hear from some of our top educators in the BTS ALP program. It is an outstanding film. Don't just leave it there. Watch it. It won't take long to watch, and it's going to make you feel good and happy that we're supporting this incredible program. But do you remember when you were a kid and you had arts experiences in your elementary school? I was in a little rural school in the spud picking capital of Idaho, and we did operas in Paul Elementary School with full sets, full orchestra, everybody doing Hansel and Gretel, singing our hearts out. We went down the hall several times a week to the music room and had music class. We had, visual arts. We had dance in the gym, and I'm telling you, I was a dancer. I believe so much in the healing and the humanizing effect and impact of the arts. And when we focused so much years ago on literacy and numeracy, which we need, because it takes time to really get the focus and see the growth that we needed to have in literacy and numeracy. For the most part, the arts disappeared because what do we spend our time doing and our resources? The things that can be measured and tested for. And so we lost. I have grandchildren in Utah Public Schools who have no arts right now, none. And it just upsets me that we have such a great program and it's extended so far, and the legislature continues to increase time a little bit more, and we're getting closer. But I'm so ready for every child in Utah to have an arts integrated experience. And this is the key that you've got to remember. Integrated with literacy and numeracy and science and all kinds of other wonderful core subjects. The arts in the state of Utah with the Beverly Taylor Sorensen Arts Learning Program is an integrated art experience that supports the other parts of the core curriculum. What a gem. What a treasure. And we have the opportunity to offer that to every child in the state. So you'll be hearing more about that later on. Thank you very much.
Member Lear.
I am now standing between you guys and lunch, so I will be really quick. I have to just say, though, in response to Randy's comments about the arts programs when we were growing up, I was not one of those lucky ones, except for in 5th grade, our teacher taught us how to do pottery. And our version of pottery was putting the old-fashioned chairs on top of the desks and then hanging a slingish thing and then putting our little pottery item on that sling, and it turned it into a little bowl. And I still have that teardrop that's about this big that I made in 5th grade. And it is the greatest artistic achievement I have and I peaked in 5th grade, obviously, and I'll someday bring it to you like hula hoops and use it for some reason. Secondly, I wanted to just say to Chair Huntsman's comments about the conferences this summer. I attended the Education Law Conference. I've done that for probably 15 years, and it's really hard to make a conference like that consistently good. It is so excellent. With all the schools we hear about that have problems with following the rules in special ed, this is a really wonderful free refresher every summer. And kudos to Leah and the people who work with her, because they were there every minute. When the app didn't work well, they supplied links to the materials, and it was just fabulous. Thirdly, I attended the Stand Up for Utah meeting sponsored by First Lady Abby Cox, and I think Dr. Timothy Shriver is the most inspiring man I've heard in a long time. It doesn't hurt that he's really good looking and easy on the eyes, but he is just a charismatic, engaging speaker who I heard that huge big room full of educators, and there was no partisanship for about the 35, 40 minutes he spoke. And it was really an engaging, enriching, uniting kind of opportunity. So I really am glad that, again, Sybil facilitated my last-minute decision to go to that. Thanks.
Member Straight.
I will pass, but that was beautiful. Thank you, everyone. I appreciated your comments.
Okay. Vice Chair Belknap.
I'm not going to pass. I just want to go back to Board Member Norton's comments today because it made me think about my fellow board members here. Every piece is unique, and more importantly, every piece is vital. We are all vital. We bring different perspectives, but we're all important. And then I wanted to say something about Board Member Hart and I both serve on the IT governance team. And I just want to thank Jared Felt and his team. They are diligent. They are thorough, and they work to complete this ginormous task to keep the wheels on the bus of this organization. So I wanted to thank them. That's it.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other hands raised or anyone on this little monitor that's really teeny for me to look at right here. So we're going to have a half-hour lunch break. We'll try to, let's try to be back in the saddle and working at 5 till. So that gives us a little more than 30 minutes, about 32. So thank you. We'll have lunch and come back.